Alrighty, so the game between the US and Grenada has just finished, and I gotta say, this was a very US men's national team kind of game where, the start of the first half was kind of slow, and that, there was a lot of people kind of question in terms of the attack and the finishing of this team, and especially multiple times they mentioned the problem with the number 9 position, and then next thing you know, they score a bunch of goals in the second half, and Jesus Ferreria, at least for tonight, he kind of maybe silenced some of those critics of the fact that he is not the answer in terms of the number 9 position for this U.S. men's national team, because he definitely went off in this game against Grenada. Now, to look at the starting 11 in this game, we got Matt Turner, Anthony Robinson, Paul Arriola, Weston McKennie, Jesus Ferreira, Jordan Morris, Luca Della Torre, Aaron Long, Cameron Carter Vickers, Reggie Cannon, and Kellen Acosta. And by the way, those defenders that I mentioned in the starting 11, they were barely being mentioned in this game. Pretty much about 90% of the time of this game, it was the U.S. pretty much dominate possession against Grenada, which is expected. I mean, they were supposed to dominate possession, and that Grenada was just maybe trying to sit deep and trying to hold on as long as possible. But as soon as when the U.S. did score that first goal, and especially scoring that second goal in the second half, you knew this one was going to start to get ugly, and indeed, of course, it was the case. It was also a hot one in Austin, as temperature were in the mid-90s. I mean, it's not a big surprise. I mean, when you decide to play a game in Texas, it's going to be a hot one, and hence, I think that's why they decided to have this at a 9 p.m. kickoff. I mean, I know there's going to be some people that are upset about this game being a late kickoff, especially people in the East Coast, but you don't want to play a game in Texas, and especially in Austin, like around 7 p.m. or even maybe around 8 p.m. So I think this is one of the time where I think it's the right call that they decided to do a 9 p.m. kickoff, because by then the sun will have already set, and the temperature, even though it was still in the 90s, it was definitely not as hot if this game was played in the daytime. Though, that being said, I thought early in this game there were a lot of green seats, especially in the upper decks. And we talked about this before, where this has been a problem for the U.S. in these last couple of games, and even in the friendlies, where, they're putting these tickets price way too high. This is just something that I think many people have been demanding the U.S. Soccer Federation to just lower the prices, because, for a game like this, especially against Grenada and on a midweek, it's not going to attract a lot more U.S. fans than, let's say, if they were playing against a bigger opponent, or even against Mexico. I mean, if they were playing against Mexico in the middle of the week and they charge people $200 for a Nations League game, then I guess it's okay. But you're playing against Grenada, and no disrespect to Grenada, it's not Mexico by any mean of imagination. Heck, it's not even some of the lesser known CONCACAF team in our region. So yeah, charging people like around 50, or from what I heard, like $100, that kind of is a little bit of an outstretch, and that it's not a big surprise there were a lot of empty seats in this one, especially in the upper deck. Now, in the first half, I thought there was actually a lot of possession early for Grenada. I mean, Grenada, I thought they were just going to sit back for minute one. They did not do that. Like, they were just kind of holding possession. I mean, they weren't really doing much with the possession, and that the U.S., I thought they would kind of sit back a little. They maybe just kind of want to have a feel of the game, so therefore that's why they didn't really have the possession. But I was expecting that things would change, because I was expecting the U.S. would really dominate possession, and Grenada would just sit in the park the bus 10 men behind the box mode for most of this game. In the third minute, we saw our first chance as Morris pops a header straight to Belfon, and yeah, it was a rough night for Jordan Morris. And I just think that I know Jordan Morris have said that he really wants to be with the U.S. men's national team. As there's actually a fly here in the room. Let's just hope it goes away there. If it does continue to fly, I'll just kind of ignore it. But you know me in terms of flies, I don't really like it. But yeah, going back to this, I've said before with what Jordan Morris says, that he wants to be with the U.S. men's national team, wants to make it to the World Cup roster. This performance is not going to help his case, because he wasn't really that effective. I mean, he was making some good runs and getting into dangerous spots, but it's all about finishing those chances. And when you're a guy, an attacker like Jordan Morris, and you want to be on the national team, you got to make sure you finish those chances, and that was one of the ones that he missed. Though I will say that even when there's time that he has gotten to a dangerous position, and this is kind of in defense for him, the U.S. wasn't really doing very well in terms of providing those final ball, and that, as I said, the problem for the U.S., as it's been always the case for this team in the past couple of years under Berhalter, is that they always start slow in the first half. A lot of space for the U.S. to work on the attack, but the final ball is just kind of lacking. Ariola had a header that was clear off the line. That was probably the best chance the U.S. had up to that point. And then Morris trying to backheel that in, which, that was kind of interesting of him trying to do that. And unsurprisingly, it missed wide there. The U.S. was knocking on the door, but can they deliver a better final ball? I mean, it just feels like at least for the first half, they were trying to kind of cross aimlessly around the flank and even trying to put the ball in the box, and most of the time it wasn't able to connect to one of the U.S. player. Now, I will say that you got to give some credit to this Grenada defense. They did a really good job in terms of cutting out those dangerous ball into the box, and I think maybe the reason why they kind of gave up in the second half was a combination of the U.S. finally broke through, and also I did mention the fact that this game was taking place in a hot Austin night around the mid-90s. So yeah, the fatigue was definitely started to show in that team. But early on, they did a good job in terms of cutting out those passes. But I feel like the U.S. could have done better with it. I thought the Grenada goalkeeper Belfond, he was kind of headhunting early in this one. Like, he was basically coming out of his box a lot. Like, whenever the ball comes in, he basically just rush out the box, and I'm kind of surprised he didn't even commit a penalty because of doing this. Like, every time he did get to the ball, but every time when he tried to get to the ball, he basically just completely throttled one of the U.S. player there, and that, yeah, I mean, it was kind of ugly seeing him just kind of recklessly punching the ball away and coming off his lines like a freight train. And I know, when you're make the argument, the goalkeeper has the rights to do so, but at the same time, it was kind of crazy the fact that he decided to do that every time, and that, when you're a goalkeeper, yes, you need to, of course, do that to try to punch it away, but I feel like he just kind of did it every time, and I was kind of waiting for that one moment where he accidentally made a mistake, where he came out when he shouldn't be, and, somehow he was able to not make that mistake. But it was kind of crazy, the fact that he was clearly just kind of maybe headhunting a little bit and maybe just kind of taking out these U.S. attack every time when he's trying to punch the ball away. Ferreira then tried to curl it in, but he missed that one in the 27th minute. I mean, up to that point, this is when U.S. fans really started to be very criticized of Jesus Ferreira, of the fact that, yes, he has done it well in the MLS level, but in the national team level, he has not really delivered up to form, and this was kind of an example of it too, though he actually had a couple of more chances in this one. I mean, he ended up scoring 4 goals, but he probably could have scored like 5 or 6 goals if he finished those chances in the first half. In the 30th minute, there was a half-hearted shout for a penalty for the U.S. that was not given. Ferreira then hits it straight to Belfond, as the possession was 66-34 for the U.S. I mean, it felt like more than that, but again, I think because Grenada kind of had most of the possession in the first 4 minutes, that's why possession isn't like something like 70 or 80-20 in favor of the U.S. And the shots were 7-0 in favor of the U.S. up to that point. But again, the final ball and finishing continued to be the problem 38 minutes into this game. Acosta puts it wide on the free kick from 28 yards out, but then in the 43rd minute, the breakthrough finally happened. And it's Jesus Ferreira that scores the breakthrough to give the U.S. a 1-0 lead, and that was key too, because it looked like we were headed into halftime 0-0, and it looked like this was another one of those games where, oh man, it's like the U.S. once again struggled to score goals in the first half, and that they come out slow. And I've also said this before with teams that tends to start slow in the first half and tends to pick it up in the second half. I have no problem with that. But the dangerous of that is that if you give up like a goal like very early in the game and you don't get going until the second half, and now you find yourself chasing the game, that could be the dangers of playing as a second half team. And I wonder when the U.S. does go to the World Cup and they kind of continue to play like a team that is a second half team, they're going to make sure that in the first half they don't give up goals, because I'm just worried that if this team does face some adversity and give up goals, which, so far for the U.S., looking at these last couple of games, or even in these past couple of years, they haven't really faced a lot of adversity in terms of going down early in the game. Though I have seen it before that they have done it. One example was the game against Canada, where they faced some adversity, giving up the early goal, and next thing you know, they weren't able to come back. And I think another example was the game against, there was one more game that they were down and they never come back. I think it was against Panama, though. That game they give up the goal in the second half, and this is the Panama game I'll talk about away in World Cup qualifiers. So this is a team that, again, it's a good second half team, but the issue is that if they do face adversity early in the game, that's when I am a little bit concerned. And that, again, they need to start. It would be much nicer for this team to start off fast and able to not have to just worry about how are they going to really turn it on in the second half. Now, in the 3rd minute stoppage time, Ferreria tried to score his second goal, but his shot was deflected wide. But we do head to halftime with the U.S. leading 1-0, and heading in the second half, Ferreria had a free header but missed high from 10 yards out. And again, up to that point, I think Taylor Twellman mentioned the fact that, yes, Ferreira has scored that goal, but, that's the thing that a lot of U.S. fans have criticized him, is that he's not able to take those opportunity that's given to him most of the time. I mean, he might convert one of those chances, but there's like 4 other chances that he doesn't convert. Sounds like something similar to a guy called Jarzy Zardes that we have heard before, that has that similar trait. But after that, there was a huge shout for a penalty from the fans in the supporter section, but it wasn't given. Again, the U.S. was showing some good attacking intensity, but the final ball and the pass was just still not there for this team. But in the 53rd minute, as soon as I wrote that, Jesus Ferreria would score his second goal from Arriola and De La Torre to give the U.S. a 2-0 lead. I mean, what a pass that was from Arriola. Just put it on a platter for Ferreira, who went through on goal and easily finished it to make it 2-0. Tillman then fired it wide from long range, but then in the 56th minute, Ferreira would score a hat-trick. He scored here from Acosta to give the U.S. a 3-0 lead. The floodgates was definitely open up that point, and I thought it was about to get ugly. And it did. After Belfont denying De La Torre from 18 yards out, Arriola would get on the score sheet from De La Torre to make it 4-0 in favor of the U.S. Ferreira was looking for number 4 not long after, but he hits it straight to Belfont. The shot were 19-0 in favor of the U.S. and 8-0 in terms of shots on goal in favor of the U.S. up to that point. The first shot for Grenada came as Belmar hits it wide from 14 yards out. I mean, Grenada, even though they didn't have a lot of chances in this one, they did also have that one time when they decided to try to chip over the head of Turner, and even though that didn't came on target, I mean, you gotta question the U.S. defense there. Like, how in the world did they allow one of the Grenada players to basically chip a 50-yard shot over their head and almost over the head of Turner? And again, it's good the fact that wasn't on target, but imagine if that was on target. Like, Turner would have easily been beat there. And you also maybe can blame Matt Turner there too, of him just kind of come off his lines a little bit too much. I mean, I get that he didn't really had anything to do in this game. I mean, he basically was just like part of the 19,000 fans at Q2 Stadium, just kind of watching this game as it goes along. But still, you got to make sure you stay sharp, because those are the things that can be dangerous as a goalkeeper, where you didn't have much to do, and then if there's one big opportunity that you need to hold to make a save, you need to of course make a save. And I do trust that Matt Turner of course can do that. But yeah, that was definitely not a good moment for him, and also definitely not a great moment from this U.S. defense, allowing one of the Grenada player to kind of shoot from like 50 yards out that could have went in. But in the 73rd minute, Aronson tried to hit the top in from a tight angle, but that one missed wide. The game was pretty much over up to that point. Like, John Champion and Taylor Twellman was just debating what the U.S. team would look like heading into Qatar in the goalkeeping situation, along with the number 9 situation. And I don't blame him. I mean, up to this point, they knew this game was over, so I guess the best thing to talk about is what everybody's been talking about right now, which is is this U.S. team going to look like, who has been so impressive throughout this game and also in those friendlies that the U.S. play against Uruguay and Morocco. But as they were talking about this, another goal would be scored for the U.S. as Ferreira will make it 5-0 and score his 4th one from Aronson and Arriola. Don't remember the last time that a U.S. player scored 4 goals in a game. I mean, I know Christian Pulisic scored a hat-trick against Panama, and then I know the last player that scored a hat-trick was Clint Dempsey in that game against Honduras back in 2017 in the World Cup qualifier, but I don't remember the last time that a U.S. player scored 4 goals in a game. They didn't mention it on the broadcast who was the last player to do so, but that's quite impressive for Jesus Ferreria to get his 4th goal. And that, again, I know there's going to be still doubters that's going to say, well, it's against Grenada, and also he also missed some big chances in this game, but the bottom line is that he still scored 4 goals. And when you have a number 9 crisis as this U.S. team has had, and the fact that Ferreira has been able to deliver, I mean, for me, in terms of the number 9 situation and who would I want to go with, I would say go with Jesus Ferreira, because I know he has had some moments that he hasn't really been putting the ball into the back of net, but he at least have shown in the league level that he can basically put it in, and at least in this game, it's shown that as long as he can get 1 goal going, he will definitely have the confidence to score 2, 3, or even 4 goals like what he did in this one. So for me, I would go with Jesus Ferreira, because after that, when you look at this team, there's really not much other option you can go in terms of the number 9 position, and I think throughout these friendlies and heading into this game, it's pretty much been shown as the case. The fans also started to doing the wave, which I said okay. I mean, I wasn't a big fan of seeing them doing a wave, especially I'm not really a big fan of it, but I guess maybe they're just kind of bored of the fact that, yeah, the game is over, let's just do something entertaining before the final whistle was blown. And by the way, the final whistle was blown right at the 90th minute mark. We did have a hydration break in both halves, but it seems like the referee just didn't want to be there anymore, and I don't blame him. I mean, at a 5-0 game like this, it's just best for this game to pretty much be blown at the full-time whistle in the 90th minute, which that was the case. And yeah, in the end, the U.S. win 5-0 in this one. Shots in this one, 25 shots compared to just 3 that Grenada has. No shots on goal compared to 10 that the U.S. had. 3 shots off target compared to 7 that the U.S. had. No shots on ball compared to 8 that the U.S. had. And possession-wise, 67% possession compared to 33% possession that Grenada has in this game. And overall, it was a very U.S. men's national team kind of game and a professional performance by this team. But now I think the big test is going to be against El Salvador on Tuesday, because I think that game is going to be away, and it's going to be back at the Cusco, then I believe, which is a play that the U.S. are very familiar with, because that's where they played their first World Cup qualifier game, and that's where the journey of them going to qualify from the World Cup all begins. And we'll see how they're going to do it there, going back there, and how they will perform, because it's one thing to, of course, play against a Caribbean team and able to get these kind of results, but it's another to see how they're going to do it on the road, and that it's going to be tough for this team to perform. And maybe we'll maybe get an answer in that game to see how can the U.S. do in terms of playing in a hostile environment, because I know in Qatar it won't be a hostile environment. In fact, I think most of the game will be pretty much dominated from U.S. fans, because U.S. fans usually showed up very well whenever the game is in the World Cup, no matter what it is. But still, it's unfamiliar territory, and and it's also kind of being on the road, and the road form has just been a problem for this team in the past couple of years, and we'll see how they're going to do in that game against El Salvador, going back to the Cusco and playing in a potential hostile environment once again. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys like, smash the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below what do you think of this game. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and let me know also in the comments in terms of the ongoing debate in terms of the number 9 situation, the goalkeeping situation, or any other position that there's been a lot of question. And also let me know in terms of also the ongoing debate of who actually have locked their spot and who maybe most likely play themselves out of potentially making the World Cup squad in November in Qatar. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I, of course, will see you guys next time.